Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Retro Refix. And on this week's episode, we've got part 2 of the Commodore 64 50250 board that we were having problems with last time. It wouldn't load the games, it kept freezing when it was searching and didn't do anything. So we changed the CIA chips, and we changed some other chips on there as well, and we didn't get anywhere and we ended up with a blank screen. So I left it for you guys in the comments to drop me some messages to tell me what you think it was. And everybody was saying pretty much it's the 7406. Now, we did change the 7406 chip a couple of times, changed the sockets and tested to make sure everything were all alright in there, and I couldn't get anything at all. So, this is part 2. If you're enjoying the videos, guys, please hit the notification bell. Please hit the thumbs up and please subscribe if you want. It really does help me and it does help the channel. So let's get back to the 466 problem board. Let's get to it. So here we are, back up this board. So last time we were on part 1, we chased it down and I thought it was a CIA that was giving you that loading problem. What it was when you started to load with the SD to IEC on there, as soon as you set it off to load, it came up with searching and just stayed there, locked up solid. So I suspected it to be U2 CIA, which we changed that. And after I changed that one, it was still the same, so I thought I'll go for the CIA one. So we changed that, and it was still exactly the same. So I went down here to the 7406, so I changed that. And after I'd changed that 7406, I got a black screen, which I found very, very strange, and I didn't have a black screen before. So really, in theory, I should have thought, relook at this, but I didn't. What I did is I put the dead test in and it came up with RAM faults. So I just thought, well, you know what, while I were in there, a process of elimination, I socketed the RAM chips, and then I put in the SRAM conversion. So if you look back on my videos, you'll find how to install an SRAM conversion into one of these boards. And it also works on the short board as well. I think that was a 469 board. This is a 466. So I changed them 2 RAM chips. Didn't work. So I thought, well, I'll try this one at the side here, and I changed that. Didn't work. It did exactly the same thing. So it was telling me in my head, okay, I'm going to change the kernel anyway because I wanted to put Jiffy DOS in. So I pulled the kernel out and I socketed it in the kernel, because the kernel can give you black screens. I thought it might be coincidental, so I pulled that out, changed that. We pulled the PLA out, put a socket in there and changed the PLA just in case it was that. And then I left it for you guys. And then we sat and we had a chat, and all of you in the comments said it was the 7406, which controls the serial around here. It's a hex inverter, nothing to do with logic, it's just a hex inverter. So what I did then is I pulled out the multimeter and I pin traced it all the way back to the points. So pin 1 on the hex inverter on the 7406 went to pin 7 on U2. So I knew that line were getting straight through to there. So I checked pin 2, and that will come across to this diode here, which is CR13, and that's fine. That's all it did. So I checked pin 3, and that went to C153, so that were all good. So I checked pin 3 went to C153, and then it went to U26 on pin 1, So U26 is over here, pin 1. It also went to U27, pin 1 and 4. 27 is, can I find it on the board somewhere? So I've written it down wrong. I've probably written it down wrong. I think it were up here actually, U15 it should have been. That were okay. So I checked again and traced it through, and it went to U14. U14 is, can't find these now. U14, which is the colour RAM next to the PLA normally. Well, it's only a SID here, isn't it? But the SID's up here on this version. But that's usually the colour RAM. So I looked at pin 4, and it went to pin 3. Pin 3, it went to U14, pin 15. And I followed it through and it went to U16. And that connected to pin 5, 6, 12 and 13. So I knew that I was getting continuity through from that chip through to that. Then we went to pin 5. So pull for pin 5 now. And pin 5 went to U20, pin 5. U20, which was the one just below that chip. And pin 6. That went to U2, pin 21. It also went to the resistor block at the side of that, just at the side there. And that went to pin 3 on that resistor block. So I knew that were alright. Pin 7 on here is just a ground, so that's fine, not a problem at all. The voltage pin, which will be pin 14, because you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and down to 8, and then back up this other side to pin 14. So pin 14 was the voltage, and that went straight to pin 1 on that resistor block. Pin 13, I followed that through, that went to U2, pin 5. Pin 12, I followed that through again, and that went to RP5, which is that resistor block again on pin 3, and then that shoots off up to the user port up here. Pin 11, I traced that through, and that came through to U2, which were pin 6. Pin 10 of the 7406, that went to the RSP and pin 4, RSP 5 with that resistor block again, pin 5, and it went to CR14, which is the diode just here. That checked out okay. Pin 9 went to U20, which was the one below it just here, and that went to pin 9. So pin 9 of that one is connected to pin 9 on that one. So I checked that, and that was all okay. And then down at pin 8, that went into the resistor block again, the RP5, and on to pin 6. It also goes to U1 on pin 14. So I trace pinned all them. I also trace pinned that resistor block, the RP5, to where all they went. So your pin 1, which is up at the top up there, which is your voltage pin. Pin 2, which is the next one down. That went to R13 and U8, pin 2. Pin 3 off that resistor block goes up to the user port. Pin 4 goes to U8 on pin 5, and it goes to U2 on pin 8. Pin 5 of that resistor block came down here to this transistor. So it just popped out of there, as you can see there, through that via, runs across into there, and I checked and made sure that that was working correctly, and it was. And then pin 6 at the bottom goes to P3, and that goes up to pin 34, pin 34 of U1 and U2. So both these two are fed by, on pin 34, and them two chips comes as a resistor blocks on pin 6. So that spent me quite a couple of hours doing, just to make sure that everything were all okay there. It felt like a little bit of false to go ahead and do that. The reason why it felt a little bit false was because we took this chip out and put a socket in, and then we got a black screen. So I cut the socket off it, checked everything, made sure all the traces around that area were all okay, and it was okay. So I put another socket back in, and then after that point we went back around and we changed all these other chips. So what I did is, after the last video, is I cut this socket off, leaving the pins in. I did that on purpose, leaving the pins in so I had a continuity connection through the board. I was just thinking, you know, if that hole for that pin has got broken in between it, it might be feeding the top, but it might not be feeding the bottom. And then you think, right, okay, fair enough, it might not do that. Once you've soldered other end, in theory, it should run through to this side. But if that pin in that socket is not touching the top side of the board, it won't make the connection. So that's the reason why I left the pins in, so I could do a continuity test of everything around there to see what was there. I found nothing. I didn't find anything at all. Everything checked out, all okay. I've put another socket in there, and once I put another socket in there and the chip in there, I left the two CIAs out at the time. And the reason why I did that is because there was just no point in putting them back in. So when I switched it on, I had a load of garble on the screen, so I thought, well, at least we've got a screen back. So I put the two CIA chips back in, and it sprung into life. Absolutely awesome. So I plugged in the SD to IEC to test it. I tried typing load, and I couldn't get the A, Z, and the shift at that side to work. So I switched it off, and I changed. Let me see if I can read this for you and tell which chip I changed it for. So I took the 4706 out, and I replaced it with an M5320. There might be another number on that, but I'll have a look into it and I'll pop a message up and let you know exactly what that chip was that replaces the 7406. So I swapped that over, and lo and behold, we had a Z back and a Z back, and a shift key worked. So I went ahead and we were playing the game and switched it off, switched it back on again. I have no A, Z, or anything again. If you remember, on the first video, I was looking at these CIA chips, and I said that one of them was a 6526A-1 and the other one wasn't. So this is the original one, and this one was in this place, and this is the other original one that was in that place. Even though the dead test said this was okay, once it was warming up, it wasn't working right. So I pulled this chip out and I put another CIA in, and lo and behold, we had the keys working again. So rather than slow everything down, I dropped out the kernel and I put Jiffy DOS in, just so we can speed load these things, because it does seem to take a long time. You remember back in the day when you used to load a game, you used to get a black screen. Sorry, not black screen, you used to just get a blue screen, and you had to wait right through until the end and see whether it loaded or not. Well, that does pretty much the same thing if you're using this with a standard kernel. You'll set it off and it just sits there, and it looks like it's not doing anything. It just leaves you on the menu screen, sat there for ages and ages and ages and ages and ages, and doesn't do anything. As soon as you swap Jiffy DOS in there, it loads the game straight into memory, virtually straight away, instantly, with Jiffy DOS. So I wanted to put Jiffy DOS in to test this again a little bit faster than wasting time without the original kernel. So yeah, so what we've ended up doing to get this baby back up and running, and it's a learning curve for myself, we changed the kernel, we changed both the CIAs, we changed U8, which was the 7406, we changed U20, which was the LM556, we changed the RAM, I changed the PLA to try and get it back up and running. And the only thing it was, in the end up, it was that 6407, which you guys said in the comments, and it turns out that we had a bad CIA, even though the dead test did tell us it were okay. A bit strange on that fact. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put it all back together, put it back into its case, and then I'm going to pan you up to the screen and we'll test it and show you that it's up and working on there. So what I'll do is I'm going to load something from the SD to IEC. I'm going to plug a tape deck into it as well, and we'll load something from the tape deck. I'm not going to load it all the way through, I'm just going to set it off so you can see it loading, and then we'll test the cartridge port. So I'm going to obviously test the disk drive port with the SD to IEC. So that's what I'm going to do now. So as you can see, got the case back together. I've just got the wire for the Jiffy DOS dangling out there, and what I'll do is I'll show you how slow it is without Jiffy DOS. We'll put the SD to IEC up there, just so it's there really. So yeah, so we're ready now, and I'm just going to stick that up onto the top screen now, and let's see what we can get from it. We've got the SD to IEC here now. I'll just hold that up in the air, and what I'm going to do is press shift and run stop, and you'll see the light on and the screen change rapidly with it. So shift and run stop, the light comes on, and we've got straight up there, look, we've got the menu system. So this is how fast it is with Jiffy DOS. So I'm just going to pick something really easy. I'll have a look in here. Ghostbusters comes on really quick. You all know I love Ghostbusters, but it does load really fast. So if I pick Ghostbusters, and we're going to go for load, within a few seconds you'll get that walker screen that comes up, and then a few seconds later it will bust into life with the Ghostbusters tune, and then the game's loaded. So there you go, you can see the Ghostbusters that's loaded. So if I turn this off now, and I flick the switch and put us back on a standard kernel. So now we've got the standard kernel run. I'll just do the old load. I've got to do it this way. You can see how it's loading now, look. See how to do it a different way, look. You can see how much slower it is bringing this file browser up. So you can see we've got the list. So we'll go back into my 64 stuff. We'll go back to the same Ghostbusters. See how much slower it is, look. Right, so it's loading. So we'll have to wait for a while now. So I'm not going to load it, to be fair, because it's going to take absolutely ages. But you can see the difference between Jiffy DOS and standard kernel. You know, it's so slow with the original kernel, it's untrue. We're still reading, because you can see the SD to IEC is still lit up. So it's still reading the game. And it's going to take quite a while. It'll just be standard loading. Yep. So again, I'm just going to flick it off quite quick. Put it back on. Oops. You know what? Switch across to Jiffy DOS. And we've got Jiffy DOS now, look. We'll do that, look. Boom. Straight up. It's instantaneous, isn't it? This is why you want Jiffy DOS in your systems, guys. So we'll go back to Ghostbusters again. Just showing you how slow that was. And we're loading again, look. And within a few seconds again, we've got the walker screen on, so it's already loaded. It's just decompressing now, then the game will fire up. So that's it, guys. We've got it fixed, we've got it sorted. It did turn out to be one CIA as well as the I love that noise. We'll just switch it off. So it did turn out that we changed the CIA chip, and we've also changed that 7406. So this is back up and running now, perfectly fine. We've got another good 64 running again. So I did say we're going to test it on the tape deck. So I've got Paradroid cassette that's here. So I've just popped that in, and we'll see if that loads off the tape. I'm not going to load it fully because it's going to take ages to load. So I just want to show you that it finds it and it proceeds from that. So that's showing you that the tape deck is actually reading and it's getting the information into the 64 memory. So it should be coming up anytime about now-ish, hopefully. Maybe. There we go, look. So it's found Paradroid. You can clearly see that it's loading up on that tape. So So there you go, we're loading from tape. So next point of call is I have a test board now. This is Bitmapsoft's test board that I've put Empire Strikes Back onto, which is a free game, guys. If you've not seen Empire Strikes Back, search it up on the internet. It's a free game, awesome game. So I'm just going to show you that loading up now. I'm going to stop the tape on here now. I'm going to just switch it off, pop the cartridge in, and we'll switch back on. So you can see there clearly that the cartridge is up and running as well. So we've got all the ports working, everything's fine and dandy. So I will say that's a fix. Well, that were a bit of a run around, wasn't it? Here she is, all built back together, back into a proper case. That's a sticker that we had on the back with all the problems with it. It's back up and running. As you saw in the video, it's loading from tapes. It's loading from the cartridge, showing you the Empire Strikes Back running. And it was also running for the SD to IEC. And I also showed you how fast it actually was with Jiffy DOS installed. So guys, if you want a 64, or you've got a 64 should I say, you want Jiffy DOS in your 64. And you also, if you've got a disk drive, you want Jiffy DOS in your disk drive as well. That just tremendously speeds everything up. And of course, if you don't want to put Jiffy DOS in there, you can use the Epix Fast Load cartridge to go in the back into there if you don't want to mess about inside here. Yeah, you can do that. So that's it. She's up and running. All done and all dusted. What's coming up next? We've got a couple of things in the pipeline. We've got the Commodore 1581 build. The case is made. PCBWare sent me the boards. They're here now. I'm just getting hold of the boom list. For those of you who don't know what the boom list is, it's just a list of the components required to build that motherboard up. So that's done. On the next episode, I've got a disk drive to be going in there that it really could do with a new belt going in. And there's a couple of capacitors, surface mount capacitors in that drive as well that I want to change out to refurb it really before we put that into the 1581 casing all finished and completed. So that's going to be coming up soon. If you like the t-shirt, guys, these are new in. If you like the t-shirt, we also have the cups that I've just got printed. I don't know if you can see that there, as you can see. If you're interested in any of these cups, guys, or the t-shirts, have a look in the link. You will find the link to the Facebook group and all the information in there. It'll be about these as well in there as well. It would be nice for you to join in there. There is a lot of people in there. There's a lot of YouTubers as well that post links in. So if you're into all this kind of stuff with the retro scene and all the computers, there's quite a lot of, like I said, YouTubers in there that post up similar things to what I do myself. Some people just do the games, reviews and things like that, which is fine, it's great. I enjoy watching them. So yeah, so like I said earlier on, if you've enjoyed the videos, guys, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one, which shouldn't be too long. Bye!